So, welcome to another show. Today's guest is Clarissa Burt, who is an author to the Self-Esteem Regime, which is an action plan to help you become your confident self. So, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much. I am thrilled that we are here. We did it.
Yeah.
We almost missed the time window, but we did it, didn't we?
Well, this
Awesome.
is
So good to
it.
be.
We're here and we can make sure that it's a great show for the listeners. So, I'm going to start with a very basic question. What is self-esteem?
Perception of self, the perception of self. So how do you think about yourself? What do you think about yourself? What are you willing to accept? What are you willing to achieve? What are you willing to feel? What are you willing to fear? And do it anyway. There are a lot of, self-esteem is one of those kind of things that people go, poo-poo, no big deal, but it's everything. It is everything you are and everything you think that you manifest, basically. So when I say, what will you accept? What kind of relationships will you accept? What is it that you will allow? How will you allow yourself to be treated? What is the perception of yourself that allows you to be treated poorly or to be in a toxic relationship? So again, as you can see, I mean, we could be here all day about, the long and the deep of how deep we want to go into self-esteem. But certainly one of the first things that I want to let you know is that when I first got back the book from the publisher, this book is published by New York City publisher, so traditionally published. And when I first got it back, I'm going to show this to you. You'll see that it's 3 iterations of blue. There are 3 different blue triangles, right?
Yeah.
When I got it back in the beginning, it was pink and blue. Pink and yellow and orange. And it was lovely. And it would have jumped off the shelves because my book is in the bookstores here in the United States at Barnes and Noble. And it would have jumped off the shelves in a huge way. The only thing I ask, the only change, and you never ask the publisher for change, you never ask a publisher for changes. It's just not done, for with traditional publishers. So would you please make those 3 triangles 3 iterations of blue? I want men to be able to pick up this book. I want them to be able to get the same support. I want them to get the same solace, the same comfort, the same information that women get, because, usually it's women that are looking for, that kind of help. Men takes a little bit more for them to understand that personal development is absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. And certainly that with self-esteem, it just doesn't discriminate. Do you know what I mean? It's everything, everyone.
Yeah, I think men are massive into self-development at the moment. I think it's such a huge movement for men to become the best version of themselves instead of chasing things. If you become something, you attract something, don't you? If you become the best version of yourself, you'll attract a better partner, a better job, a better lifestyle, a better group of friends, etc. And I think one of the points that you made at the start, which is when I asked, what is self-esteem? It's your self-perception. And I love that, because if you see yourself as a king, you will act how a king acts and how a king carries himself and how his demeanor is dictated in that regard. But if you see yourself as a bit of a cowboy, a bit of someone who has come from a poor background, that you let that define you. Do you find that whatever your stance or viewpoint is initially dictates how your behavior acts beyond that?
Well, what we know about ourselves goes back to the familial tribe. Okay, what did mom teach us? What did dad teach us? Was there a mom? Was there a dad? We all have our stories, right? Was it a happy household? Was it an unhappy household? What were the things that you were taught by the family tribe? That's really where most of the formation comes from. And really, most of the things we need to unlearn come from the familiar tribe, because look, they love us and we love them and it's all good. I'll be home for Christmas dinner, see you on Thanksgiving, but and I love you, call you every day, but we're indoctrinated, if you will, with their beliefs. And their beliefs, where do they come from? Their parents' beliefs, and back we go, right? So a lot of the things that we are thinking today could go back hundreds of years. I mean, I'm 1,000% Irish, for example, and I know that my grandfather was one of 16 children, and and when we got together for once a year with the entire family, and it was a huge gathering, they sat around and sang, Old Danny Boy. It was just today. I don't think they do that except on St. Patrick's Day. So just to get to the point being, we learn a lot about who we think we are by how we're indoctrinated and what they are telling us we are. right? Once we leave, then what have we got? We've got the friends, we've got their educative institutions, all of our schooling, the books that we read, and our work environments. Also, these are all formative processes that give us, who we are. And along the way, invariably, we're going to run across someone we just didn't get on with.
Yeah.
And therein lies that clash. We talk a lot about also emotional intelligence in the book, which is really important because that's the ability to interpret and to understand, the emotions from the sensations in your body, right? So what is it that emotionally you're feeling? Because everybody's feeling, are you stuffing it down or you're going to actually, deal with it? And most people don't. Most people just go, they'll laugh something off, or, they'll just avoid that person the next time, or, they just, might write out, just decide, I hate you and I'm never going to talk to you again. That kind of thing. So we really have to be mindful about, I just had a situation this morning where I was really hurt by something in someone. And I make a conscious decision now, Siobhan, that I want to make sure that when I go in there, I am calm, I'm cool, I'm collected, and I explain in a really cool way what the deal is, and I got an absolute lovely apology because they went, you're right, I'm so sorry, I was wrong, and it's all good. So now I'm flying higher than a kite because, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I would have gone in guns a-blazing. So emotional intelligence is really important for us to take a deeper dive into as well. So we understand what are the emotions, what are the triggers? Triggers are huge. Where are the triggers? Where do they trigger us? And where did those triggers come from? So, yeah.
Okay. So we'll obviously throughout the conversation, we will obviously come on to ways to improve self-esteem. But what I want to look at first of all, or ask your opinion on, is where the baseline self-esteem comes from, because there has been psychological studies that suggest that that's formed within the first 7 years of life, and it's down to how your parents treated you and how you were treated by your peers, maybe the achievements that you had. Would you agree that that's where the baseline of self-esteem comes from?
It's what I kind of just said when I was talking about the familiar tribe, the family tribe. We are who we are. We are formed by them by the age of 5, 6, 7. Their beliefs become our beliefs. And then when you get out and go, I've got a few friends, their families are a little different. I'm going to school. Wow, they're teaching me a whole different thing. Even our faith, if a lot of us live in faith, and they are different amongst themselves, right? What they are teaching are they're just different dogmas. So we have the encountering of, well, that's not what I was taught, my God's better than your God, and all of that. So in other words, to be able to come together and just say, okay, these are all the things I've learned. What is serving me? What is driving me? And what is making me a better person tomorrow than I am today? What do I need to unlearn? And that's what I said. Mom, I love you. Dad, I love you. Thanks for everything. But as I'm leaving the familiar home and I'm going out on my own, and this happened to me quite a few different times, there was a little bit of culture shock, or there might have been a little bit of, wow, I didn't have the tools in the shed at the time that I needed to be able to affront any and all situations, right? I just didn't have that. And a lot of people really don't. And, we have to remember also that life will continue to trigger us. People say, well, can't you just learn self-esteem and you're good to go? Yeah, it doesn't work that way. You never get, take a self-esteem test and, you get 100 and you don't have, no, it doesn't work that way. Because life is life and it ebbs and flows, and it will, there's going to be a storm coming through. You're going to get that hurricane, that tornado, whatever it is. And as it comes through your life, and quick sidebar, the last 2 years of my life have been some of the worst ever. Here it comes. Here comes that storm. Oh my God. Okay, wait, hold on. I might lose a leaf or two. I might even lose a branch. But if I have the proper tools in the shed, I know that I'm not going to be uprooted with the storm and carried away. I'm going to stand strong in my stead, and I'm going to be very firmly rooted in the knowing that I'm going to be okay, because I love me, because I love life, because I have the tools in the shed, because I've done my work. When I started reading, and this is long before, you were born, here in the United States, we had 3 different, you still have them in the UK, you have 3 different, bookshops that you probably frequent. And we had them here as well. And as I was growing, and this is pre-computer, pre-internet, pre-anything else, I would go to the bookstores because I just couldn't get enough of what they called self-help. It was the self-help section, and it was not very big at all. It was like there were very few books in this self-help section. Today, as I walk through Barnes and Noble and proudly see my book on the shelves, it's a never-ending, like rows and rows and rows of personal development. So what does that tell us? That we are always we're always, as I said before, looking for support, looking for answers, looking for betterment, looking for the why, things are the way they are. Why am I the way that I am? I was able to find through personal development, I was able to find out that I'm an extra sensitive person, and it's a thing. And I didn't know that. And there's a doctor who, anyway, I digress when I tell you, you are constantly going to be on your educative process. You are always going to be leveling up. And what you really want to be doing all the time is empowering yourself.
Yeah. Love it. I think because there's an internal locus of control, isn't there, versus an external locus of control. And a bit like yourself, I'm always reading about philosophy, psychology, self-help, etc. But let's talk about your book within that remit of self-help. Why did you write the book? Two-part question, really. Why did you write the book, and what are the, as you've referred to, the 4 pillars that make up self-esteem?
Yeah. Okay. I wrote the book because I've been wanting to write it for a long time. And I did a keynote speech about 5 years ago. And Gary, who co-wrote the book with me, Gary Krebs, because I'm never going to sit down and write the book. It was going to be in my head forever. I just don't have the patience to do it. And I did a keynote. And as I got off the stage, he said, I want to write your book. And I went, let's do it. And we did. And we wrote this book quickly. We wrote it in about 9 months' time because the publishers were already, very excited about what the concept of the book was. And I wrote it because I was so frustrated of seeing, especially women, that were undervaluating themselves. I mean, they were just, it used to just drive me crazy because I would have a perception of them and they had a completely different perception of themselves. Give you an example. My mother, beautiful woman, beautiful lady. She got pregnant with me in high school, right out of high school. I had to get married early. She was extremely intelligent. My mother was beautiful lady. Don't take a picture of me. Don't take a picture of me. Oh, I come out horrible in pictures. And I thought, I see her as being so beautiful. What would drive her to not want to be in front of a camera? And by the way, in the 1950s, cameras were not all that. They still had flash bulbs and, but she didn't want to get in front of a camera. And was certainly living in a toxic relationship. Those were the times. You didn't get divorced then. My grandmother, beautiful woman. Grandmom decides one day, she's like 44, 47 years old. I got to lose weight. She didn't need to lose an ounce. Grandmom takes 2 diet pills, swallows them, chokes on them, perforates her esophagus, and winds up 6 weeks in the hospital. And I thought to myself, well, that was so silly because I see her as such a lovely lady, such a beautiful lady. What is it that she sees that doesn't see that I see? And on it goes, right? I was able to, and I'll show you quickly just, oh no, that's all right. I was able to work with some of the most beautiful women in the world when I was modeling. And even there, I noticed that there was, discontent and toxic relationships, and not all of them, please, not everyone. But I noticed that I'm looking at some of these girls going, wow, you really have it all. Here you are out the world, traveling, beautiful, fashion, the whole, bling, bling. And it was just a really, really cool place to be. And somehow they were still unhappy. And I figured, I said, what is it that's connecting the supermodels on the runways of the world and my mom back in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania? And of course, the answer is lack of happy, healthy self-esteem. It's low self-esteem. So I knew that because it was so frustrating to me. And of course, I went through my own process of having low self-esteem. I'll show you real quick. That's a picture of what I used to look like when I was in school. And as I was in school looking like this, I was looking at the big screen movie stars. I wanted to be Ava Gardner. And I wanted to be Rita Hayworth, and I never thought it would ever happen. It just wasn't going to happen for me looking that way. Well, thank God for the ugly duckling thing. And, you get through some awkward moments in life. And I was very tall and thin, and I was able to, to live my very first dream, never thinking that I could. So even when you think you can't, if you really want, if you do the work, if you never give up, as they say, you can either what do they say? Give up, give in, or give it all you got. Those are the three. That's it. You either give up, you either give in, or you give it all you got. And I did. I gave it all I got. I moved into New York City and I did what was required. I had some pictures taken and whatever else. And I was lucky, certainly, to be able to do the, my dream work, right? So the 4 pillars of self-esteem then are look good, feel good, be good, and greater good. So look good is the exterior. It's who we are on the exterior. And if there's something that we want to, that we can, enhance, I don't say completely change. You do you, but I know that with a little bit of makeup and my hair in a proper place, I've got a lilt in my step and I'm feeling a little bit better about myself. A nice dress, whatever else. We look in the mirror, we go, okay, looking good.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to look nice.
Yeah.
It's just for themselves, not for others. Don't forget, but looking good for yourself.
Good.
Look good, feel good, diet, exercise, nutrition, making sure that you are treating your temple really, really well. You get one body in this lifetime, and certainly we want to be doing the best that we possibly can, treating it really, really well. Look good, feel good, be good. Be good is relationships, leadership, your finances, your business, all of the other things that make you tick, that you bring to the table, that really you're impassioned by. And then the greater good is paying it forward, paying back, tithing, volunteering, doing the right thing. And, and it doesn't have to be broad stroke. People say, gee, I barely have enough to, money at the end of the month to get, well, that's fine. We're not talking always about money here. It could be a smile. It could be a gesture. It could be holding an elevator door for somebody, letting somebody in traffic, a smile, a compliment, helping someone down the stairs, a lady down the stairs with a baby carriage, getting up for the elderly on public transportation, or a pregnant woman. So yeah, all kinds of different ways that we can be living our greater good. And the first, that's really kind of a really, it's a real quick boost in self-esteem, because it's a win-win.
Yeah.
You feel good because you made somebody else feel good.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah. It's like what you give to others, you get back to yourself. And if you give good, you are doing good to yourself as well, aren't you? In that fashion.
Yeah, exactly. And we have to always remember that we have to remember that, it's our birthright to live in a peaceful home. A lot of people don't. So if you're living in a toxic way, I'm going to invite you to really take a look at that, because life is a really beautiful place to be. Seems a little difficult, in these last couple of years, but this too shall pass. But, so much can be done with, a smile and a happy face, and being in a happy place. You deserve to be loved.
Yeah. Do you think it comes back to belief though? Like, so if you believe that the world is a bad place, you're more likely to see bad things. You could come back to your family member who was essentially saying that she does not look good on camera. If that is your belief and that your perception, does that then make you feel bad and make you then look worse on camera? So is it all down to mentality first, or is it other things that build that mentality, or is it a combination of both?
Yeah, I think that, mom had, it was also, I think that it was potentially a sense of, vanity not being okay, looking at yourself and feeling good about yourself, not okay. And I don't want to place blame on anyone, but, mom did go to 12 years of the Catholic nuns. And they were in uniforms every day. And of course, the Catholic religion in the 50s, whole different place to be, right? And so you really weren't supposed to be attractive as a girl. And, you weren't, you had to have your knees covered, all of the old mores of the past. And so the indoctrination there was, you're not supposed to be attractive for men, no attention seeking, I guess is what that is. And I think that kind of played into that a little bit with mom. And so, but mom is, she's just a lovely, lovely, lovely lady. And she has been, she's been a catalyst for me in many different ways. But certainly, again, going back to that whole indoctrination piece, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what serves and what doesn't. And I make sure that my mother knows, as many times as I can tell her just how lovely she is and how beautiful she is and how great she looks in pictures. I don't know where the pictures are right now, but if I were to show you one, you go, wow, wow, she really looks good in pictures. And I'd say, yeah, I know. She never thought so. It was really difficult to get her in front of a camera, but it's just, that's just the way it is. So I looked at that, now what was I supposed to think as her firstborn? Oh, then I don't want pictures taken of me either. Didn't work out that way, did it? And then my father, I mean, back in the day, there was a lot of back in the day, the Irish and the Italians in the United States. I don't know about anywhere else, but here they're really back in the day, they didn't get along. If you ever watched the movie The Gangs of New York, you'd know what I'm talking about. So they didn't like one another. And there was a lot of, racial slurs back in the day. Those were the big things. Like the Irish were the mix and they were the drunks, and the Italians were the wops and the dagos, and, all these horrible names that, they were placing on other, on different nationalities. And my dad, as an Irishman, would use frequently, it's the use, it's what they used to do toward the Italians. Where did I go and live for 30 years of my life? In Italy. So just to give you an idea of the teachings, you're there and you're going to listen to it, but it doesn't mean you can't change it once you're able. And no shame, no blame, and no guilt once you do.
But isn't it a case of your self-esteem being linked to the net position of your own self-perception, the perception of others, the perception of society as a whole? Because as you said, if you are constantly being talked down on, and let's say that you're not very productive at work and you're always getting grades at the bottom of the class, doesn't matter really in some respects how much you value yourself, the external reality also has an impact. Would you agree that that's the case?
First of all, it's none of your business what anybody else thinks about you. That's none of your business at all. You give it no credence, you give it no weight, you give it no power. Number one. Number two, if you're coming in at the bottom of your class, I'm going to guess you're in the wrong class. And that only means, where are your strengths? You're in a class that is teaching you things that I couldn't get. I mean, I did all right in school. I did, well-ish. I sure did not like math. I was completely right-brained. I had no left brain at all. I still really don't. I don't want to have anything to do with contracts, lawyers, accounting sheets, graphic. I don't want to have anything to do with anything that is math. Okay. So I knew that when I was going to school, there were classes that I absolutely loved. Couldn't wait to get into history and geography and home economics. I loved all of that. But as soon as I had to walk into a geometry class, oh boy. And you can feel it in your body. And going back to the emotional intelligence, you can feel it in your body. Yeah, I'm going to home ec. Yeah, I can't wait to get into wood shop or whatever. And then you have to go to trigonometry, and you're like, oh yeah, I get to trig class. It's a thing. And so if you're at the bottom of your class, Jivan, I'm going to say you're in the wrong class. There is something you're passionate about. There's something that you're going to be really good at. And that's the class you need to be getting into as soon as you can. Yes, you have to go through your schooling. You have to do all of that. But don't let them teach you while you're there that you're not good. I wasn't good at doing, I'm still not good at doing a lot of things. Oh, well, but I'm really good at what I'm good at. And I love that. That's where I shine. That's where I soar. And I invite everyone to find, where is it you're passionate? What is it you really do love? Well, do more of that.
Yeah, 100%. It's like the old adage of a fish is ability to climb a tree, isn't it? And if we look at individuals who, as you said, are passionate about something and have the skill set for it, they're the people with the highest self-esteem, because life seems to be going great for them. Everyone wants to speak with them and get their services. Do you think that's a massive part of life in general, being able to find what that thing is that's going to build your self-esteem up?
All day, every day. All day, every day. And self-esteem, as I said before, isn't something you take a test and you're good. No, the triggers are there. They're going to be there. The daily demons are going to come in. We talk about the daily demons in the book. They're always going to be pulling. And all that you have to do is, be very, very careful, stay in the positive mindset, and just let them know there's no more place and no more space for the negative talk. The other thing that we have these days that, we didn't have back in my day, but we do now, is social media. And the constant comparisons that are being made between my life and the life that I see somebody else leaving. Well, I'm going to say, first of all, self-esteem 101. Never compare yourself to anybody else. You haven't walked a mile in their shoes. You have no idea what they're really going through. And be really, really happy that you get to be you. That is like one of the coolest damn, because you get to write the film, the script, you get to distribute it. Your life is yours. It's not theirs. And by the way, again, they might look better, they might, be richer, whatever it is you're thinking, you're comparing yourself to, but you really don't know what's going on with them. I mean, I've seen some really, really perception, again, not being reality. I've seen some people that I thought were extremely, like, really had their act together, and and the next thing something, you find out in some way that, it's a perception it really wasn't what you thought it was, right? This happens to us frequently. Social media then, is one of those kind of things that we have to be. Your Esteem Project, Dove, came out last week with a whole new concept, a whole new project that I absolutely adore. And I want to make sure I get this right. And it's called hashtag no digital distortion, hashtag turn your back, and hashtag toxic influence. And that is because like 40% of girls under the age of 13 now are using these filters that are making them look completely different than what reality is. And I think it's called the glamour filter. I believe it's glamour filter, something like. You can find it on TikTok, you can find it on Instagram. And so a lot of the models, a lot of different companies have jumped on board with Dove and said, we're not allowing this to happen anymore, because it's not reality. And so our youth are on social media every day, and they're comparing themselves to things that are not real and certainly not reality.
How do you then, so with that, if we just extrapolate that a little bit further with social media, as you said, there's extreme ends of the scale, aren't there, in some respects, where there's a 10 out of 10 male or female that has lower self-esteem than someone who is a 1 out of 10, but for some reason has higher self-esteem. Do you think it comes down to an overall underachievement, or, as you said earlier on in the conversation, an overall undervaluation of yourself relative to where you are?
I think, first of all, every case is individual, and certainly, please know that when you do my book is what I call, for me, it's a manual, but self-esteem for me is a mission, and it's a movement. I really want to see this take off in a big, big way. And it's an easy read, right? So when you take the book, it's an easier read. It's not like a heavy read. You're going to be doing the work. It's a manual. It's almost a workbook. When you're going through the book to read these 12 chapters, we start with release, which is what I told you about before. And every chapter starts with a word. So release, what do you need to let go of? What's not serving you? What do you need to unlearn? The second chapter is rebuild. So we're rebuilding, right? We start from like ground zero. Okay, where are we? Where are we starting from? Where are we going? Of course, everybody's going to rebuild and release in different ways, right? Everybody's got their own set of circumstances. What I will tell you is, when you start to do the work, better be ready for some major change. Because if you're picking up personal development books, it's probably because you're there because you're probably not that thrilled with the way life is or the way it's going, or you want to be changing things. And how do you do that? You're going to need tenacity. You're going to need courage, because when you start doing the work, you will see how the toxic relationships fall away, how you are going to have to start forging a new path for your new, happy, positive self. The light at the end of the tunnel, when you get started, is a little teeny light, right? It's there. But the more work you do and the closer you move forward, the bigger, the bolder, the brighter, and the more beautiful this light really becomes. And so that's why I say you have to really be ready. You've got to be really courageous and stand forthright, because some of it's going to be uncomfortable, and some of it might be downright painful. It's up to you. And some people plow through pain with no issue at all. And some people takes them a little bit. Some people might pick it up, read the chapter, and go, "Oh, hell no," and put it down for a week. I go, "I'm not doing that." And then come back to it. Yeah, I know. If I want to move forward, I got to do that. So it's really an individual, everyone being different, but everyone will be the same in that there are no shortcuts. when you really want to be your best you, when you want to be in service to yourself and others. I always start off by saying, oh, what is it that you think is really important? Well, what's really important? What are your value systems? Your value system is really who you are. And mine is what I call taking the high road. And that is honesty, integrity, living in gratitude, and with honor. So, honesty, radical honesty with yourself and with others. And if you can't be radically honest, you might, that's like, it's one of the greatest things you will ever be, is an honest person. I think that really, really, truly carves a really deep path into self-esteem, being honest with everyone, because that makes you honest, it makes you dependable, it makes you reliable, it makes you trustworthy, it makes you so many lovely things. Integrity, moral principles, your moral uprightness, right? It's so huge. These are like some of the biggest words for me. Integrity, living in integrity. Oh, wow. Gratitude.
Is that one of your main tactics within the regime, or is there something else that is equally as important as that, or greater than that?
Well, I think it's, it really comes down to the quality of your decisions determines the quality of your life, right? And so for me, taking the high road has been really, really important. And again, honesty, so H, integrity, I, G, gratitude. Oh, I don't know if anybody's sitting around bitching, moaning, and complaining today about their lives. Let's take a look at what's going on in the Ukraine. Let's take a look at what just happened in Turkey. Let's take a look at so many people that are, really not doing well, that are terminally ill. Let's take a look at what people, that are really really going through difficult times.
Yeah.
Right. So if we can't come up with 5 things that we're really, living in gratitude for right now, then I don't know.
It's crazy, isn't it? Because I actually write down things I'm grateful for every day, because everything you've got in your life and I've got in my life, someone else is jealous of. I've got hair, I own a house, I have a dog, I've got my own show, I've got a book out, and obviously you've got a book out, and you can list off 100 different things. You've got legs. There's people who don't even walk. You live in a Western country with that's wealthy.
Yes.
There's literally hundreds and hundreds of things, and if you can't put yourself in a positive mind frame to be grateful for those things, absolutely, and have a positive perspective of your life, and have
here's one I'll give you. How about running water?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just start at the beginning. Let's talk about roof over our head, warm blankets. Let's talk about a full pantry, a full tummy. Look, we could be here all day on the things that we have to be grateful for. So if you're bitching, moaning, and complaining, I suggest you really start reading books like this. Really, really start taking a good look about what is what and what's not, and then give yourself a good, swift kick in the ass and get moving. And then the last H is honor. Who are you when nobody else is in the room? Who are you really? Like, how are you honoring yourself, and how are you honoring others? And that doesn't mean, I don't mean that in a military way. I don't mean that in any other way. Honor is, I think, one of the most important words in the English language, along with honesty and integrity. These are those are so you can certainly, borrow mine, use them, or you can come up with other, values that are, really that important to you. So, and live by them. Again, remember, I want to be a better person tomorrow than I am today. How am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to do that because I'm going to be honest with myself and everyone else. I'm going to live in integrity because I know what my moral uprightness and my principles are. I'm going to be living in gratitude. I do that all day long, every day. I mean, I thank the air that I breathe. And I also am going to live in honor because I know who I am when no one else is in the room.
Yeah.
Definitely. And when you start living like this and you start adapting these principles, I tell you, your life will change dramatically. And boy, what you start calling in is it, and buckle up, because stuff's going to start moving, and it's going to move fast. When you start the journaling process, we have also the mirror therapy process in the book, where you actually talk to yourself in the mirror and go, oh my God, Clarissa, I would never do that. That's ridiculous. What are we talking about now? That's just crazy. It's the most impactful exercise in the book.
Yeah,
when you start looking into that mirror, and you're not looking at the mirror, you're looking in the mirror. Whole different ball game.
It's something that that professional athletes do as well. They look in the mirror, they give themselves self-talk, affirmations, what's the other word I'm looking for? like self-reflection,
self-confidence.
yeah, self-confidence, auto-suggestion, all these sorts of things that put themselves in a positive mind frame. Because at the end of the day, look, this is what the average person does. They'll say, I'm fat, I'm ugly, you know, I'm not wealthy, I don't have many friends, I'm X, Y, and Z. And if you continue to talk like that, you'll then have a lower self-esteem, which will then put you in a worse position moving forward, as opposed to being positive with yourself and going in a positive direction versus negative direction. So would you say that the first active step someone should take is the mirror-based approach?
Well, I mean, I can't remember exactly what chapter it comes in, but yeah, if you want to jump in feet first, go right ahead. Just take, know that when you start to do the self, let's call it self-talk into the mirror, stuff's going to come up. It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel uncomfortable. You're probably going to want to do this when nobody else is at home.
Yeah.
You might even want to have a tissue close by, because when you start to say things like, "Hi, I just want to tell you that I really like you. No, you know what? I really love you. And, I forgive you. And I'm so proud of you for, whatever, the way you made that presentation at the interview the other day, or whatever it is." And you really start to talk with yourself, to yourself. Again, not looking at the mirror, but looking in the mirror, because you're looking into your own eyes. And I tell you, when you do that, boy, does it hit your soul fast. And remembering also that every word uttered is energy, right? So
Yeah.
thoughts are things,
Yeah.
and they are energy. And that is what you're putting out. Whatever you put out, be really, really careful, because it's coming back. So
Yeah.
it will come back to, I call it the universe. You all can call it whatever you'd like, but the universe hears you. And if you keep going, "Oh, universe, why me? I don't understand why well, the universe is going to say, "Here, I'm going to show you why."
Yeah, I think of it in this way. It's like if your parents gave you something and they gave you a PlayStation, they gave you a car, and you say, "Oh, I don't want this. This is nothing. This is nothing." After a while, they're going to stop giving you things. So if you're like, they give you a bag of sweets, you're like, "Thank you so much for these sweets." They might be like, "Right, this guy really appreciates it. We'll give him more stuff and more stuff." And I think it's very much reflective of that, in some respects.
Yeah,
So
and don't be afraid. Just do the work. Just do it. Like, look, we are not on this planet for a really long time. And in the grand scheme of things, we're here for a flash. You could be 98 years old, and those 98 years, notwithstanding, are still a flash in time. You are not here that long. And the other thing I'd like to just to say is, you can do anything until you can't.
yeah,
Do anything until you can't. And that you can take it any way you will. Here, but I will offer this up. Who is it that you need to make amends with? Who do you need to apologize to? Who do you need to pick up a phone and talk to? Who do you need to send that email to? Who do you need to send that text to? Who is it that you might have forgotten along the way? Who is it you need to thank? Who is it that hurt your feelings and you made a big deal out of it, but you really miss them, and why not make the first move? Look, if you don't make that first move, they may never. And even if you make the first move and never hear anything back, it's still a really good starting point, for learning more about yourself, what you're capable of doing, what you're capable of feeling, and knowing that, you made the move. That is really good. That's good juju right there. It's just really good stuff. So if they're meant to be in your life, it will happen. It will come back together. And here's the other thing. What if, because life being life doesn't mean everybody's here forever. And how many times have we heard, "Oh God, if I could have only said, if I could have only had 5 more minutes, if I could have only done that one more hug, if I could have only said I was sorry, if I would have only told them how I never said I love you." We hear this frequently.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, that's the regret of. So there's two regrets. One is that you do something and you fuck up, essentially, and the other is regretting having not done something. And when we don't do something, and there's always that lack of clarity of, well, what could have happened? What if this had happened? And that's always a lot worse than regretting doing something and it not being the right thing. But what if? So let's, for argument's sake, someone has listened to what you said today and they've said, "You know what? I'm going to do the gratitude work. I'm going to look into the mirror. I'm going to read the book. I'm going to do the self-talk. I'm going to do the self-improvement. I'm going to do all of these things. I'm going to find what I'm passionate about and do all of that, as well as all the other bits that you've mentioned. Making it with people and being honest and integrity and gratitude, all of the 50, 60 different points you've made. Can they ever get that perfect level of self-esteem?
Well, I mean, what's perfect? Describe perfect, and describe what's perfect for you and what's perfect for me, and describe, look, I had a really uncomfortable moment this morning. I'm gonna lie. I had a really uncomfortable moment this morning because my business, I got some news. It just, my business just kind of went, whoa, okay, pivot. What am I gonna do? I have no idea what's happening. But yesterday I was with my mom and I was just like, mom, I had a moment with my mom, and it was just, I was, feeling some discomfort about, things that are happening and why, happening in my time. Well, your timing is not the universe's timing, and it doesn't always work out in your time. And here's why I started to get really, really cool when I was, silly example, but to get to the point. When I'm driving, I'm a fast driver. I kind of like to drive. And if somebody gets on my, I don't have patience for slow drivers and all that. And then I started to realize, I think it happened once that had I been going in that moment any faster, I would have potentially been in the accident I saw ahead.
Yeah. Well, this is it. It's not what happens to you, is it? It's how you view things that matters.
Oh, I realized that it was not my time, and because there were fatalities. It wasn't my time yet to go, and that the universe knew exactly what it was doing when it put that old fogey in front of me in that car that was going slower than I wanted it to go. So if you take that as a case in point and understand that that's basically how it's working all of the time, the universe has got your back. You've got it, put in your work, but know that if it's not happening in your timing, it's none of your business. You have to know what you want to do. How it's going to get done is the universe's business. When it's going to get done is the universe's business, I should say.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Life doesn't happen to you, does it? It happens for you, as the saying goes.
Remember, this is a really great quote that comes from a woman by the name of Emma Churchman, and it goes like this: worrying is praying for what you do not want.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
So,
I love it.
so what are we worrying about? Stop worrying and put that energy, because remember, that's a thought. It's energy going out in the universe. That worry. Don't worry.
It's like the Stoics say as well. They say, what is the point in thinking about or preempting evil before it happens? It's like, what's the point in you thinking about evil that could happen before it happens? That's just a sign of madness. And for most people, because as you said, they are on the social media, reading the news, they see all the negative, they aren't doing self-reflection, they aren't doing these active habits, because at the end of the day, we are our habits over a period of time. If we go running every day, after the end of 12 months, we're going to be in a better shape. We are eating 2 bags of, as you call them, chips, crisps a day, and 17 sodas, as you call it. Where are you going to be in 12 months? And it goes the same with the self-esteem, doesn't it? Where are you going to be in 12 months?
About boundaries. Big one, huge one. Really difficult for most people. So most people think that when you're setting up a boundary, first of all, what is that? It's the way you teach people that you will and will not be treated. Number one. Number two, boundaries. Wow. A lot of people think, you got to get angry and you got to get pissed off and you got to get, raise your voice and you got to, means nothing of the sort, because, the more you yell and scream, the more people aren't really going to take in what you really want to say. So bring that way down, and create your boundaries and say, hey, listen, can we talk for a second? What you just did, what you just said, whatever. It kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. And would you mind just, can we not? And most people would say, oh man, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it that way. And I know you didn't. And that's great. Just wanted to get that out of the way. Thanks a lot. Done. And if they continue to do it, then you've got an issue. If they continue to not, or if they go, oh, you're nuts, you're crazy, don't be so sensitive. Yeah. Well, okay. I don't know. I want to be respected. Look, we all want to be seen. We all want to be heard, and we all want to be understood. And if you were to say to me, hey, listen, I'll make it up as I go. When you said that thing to me about, hating the color of my dog, whatever,
Yeah.
I'm making that up as I go, I kind of love my dog, and like, what's wrong with my dog's color? And I'll go, I go, oh God, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean it that way. I just, I don't know how I meant that. And I'm really sorry. Please forgive me. Okay, done. But if tomorrow you say, that dog really is an ugly color. I mean, I do it every day. issue on your hands. It's something then you have to decide if you want to keep this person in your life, or if you want to like start, moving them out a little bit to the periphery, right? So, and that's a silly example, don't get me wrong. It's very, very silly, but I think you get the point where, some people can do and say some very, very hurtful things. A lot of the times they don't know that they're hurting us, and a lot of times they do. So that's where the boundaries will come in very handy for you as you are deciding how you will and will not be treated. And I will tell you that if anyone is putting their hands on you, screaming at you and demeaning you, you've got a problem, you got an issue, and I would start worrying about getting out. And as a quick sidebar, here in the United States, I've spoken many times about domesticshelters.org. They have a plethora of information to help anybody get out of domestic violence and domestic abuse situations. And by the way, that's men and women. But yes, so I'm really passionate about that, because I just, life is too damn short to be living unhappily. And
is that why it's important to have the right people around you, whether that's friends, family, some sort of support group network or anything along those lines?
Yeah. And remember this too, you're never going to be good enough for the wrong person.
Yeah, love it.
So don't internalize rejection, don't internalize their words, don't internalize their, just look, we don't do mean. No, we don't do mean. Mean, no. Mean doesn't get in here. Doesn't get in. Doesn't even pass. What's going on? Sorry.
Bless you.
Yeah. So, you have to be your own advocate. You have to advocate for yourself. And therein, as I said before, you're going to need the courage. And sometimes it's going to be hard, because it's easier to, it's not, I call it personal empowerment. Some people go with, encowerment. Like they cower down and they no. Stand strong, stand tall, and do it with ease, joy, grace, and glory for as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, everyone wants to be courageous, don't they? But what they don't understand is that courage is not having a lack of fear, it's having fear and still moving forward. And that's where it comes down to being big, being strong, having that self-motivation, that self-belief, as opposed to letting the fear essentially win. We've talked a lot about, obviously, the book, the pillars, the mirroring side of things, support groups, self-talk, self-esteem, gratitude, all of the key things. Is there anything else that you feel that we've not discussed that you would really love to share with the audience?
I am enough. So we've got this, this thing going around. I am enough. You are enough. We are enough. Everybody's enough. Enough. Oh, everybody said I am enough. Well, if you look up the description or the definition of enough, it's only as much as is required. Now, I don't know, required by whom or required by, is there a panel on require? I don't know, like, what does that even mean, only as much as is required? But I will tell you this, when you can get to the point and you say, I am so much more than is required. I am so much more than is required. I don't even know what required means. then you're on a really good path, and keep on that path. Keep going, keep yourself in that really happy, healthy, self-esteem kind of place. And again, it's not going to be easy. Life's going to trigger. Things are going to come out. Relationships come and go. People get fired from jobs. Someone, that you love dearly may pass. It's life. Life is going to happen. But when you do have, books like mine, that you've read, you've held dear, that you've held close, that you've read over and over, maybe, sometimes you're going to read this book once, my book, and, you're going to get a lot out of it the first time. And then maybe in a year's time, you'll pick it up again, because maybe next year you've got a whole new set of things you need to release, and a whole new set of things you need to rebuild. And that's life. We are in constant evolution. Hallelujah. We are free, and we are in constant evolution.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of things that you said there with death and the job, for example, and obviously that can put you in a poor mental state, but it's all about how you're viewing things, I think. So obviously death in the family, don't be sad it's over, be happy that it happened, be happy that you met these people. The job thing, don't be sad that you've no longer got a job. think of the exciting opportunity of finding a new job close to home with more pay, more flexibility, a job that you actually enjoy doing. So for two people, Mr. Smith and Mrs. Jones, they can have the same experience, but take something completely different from it. One negative, one positive. And over a period of time, they have a completely different level of self-esteem from, let's say from a 0 to 10 perspective. After 5 events, one moves from a 5 average to a 3, and one moves from a 5 to a 7. And it's how you look at things, and as you said, all the other bits that form that manual, that regime, that structured process that's going to help you get from whatever level you are at to that much higher level.
Yeah, and let me close. As we're closing, let me go into this piece of it because it's really important. The CDC has put out now some really alarming statistics, and some of the statistics I gave you before. With all of these, 48% of girls are using all these filters and not really, loving themselves the way they are. They feel that they have to completely, change the way, or really embellish upon the way they look in order to be accepted and acceptable, right? The CDC put out recently some stats that are really scary, and it's something along the lines of 50%, if not more, of our kids in schools from middle school, high school, and college age are either anxious, depressed, contemplating suicide, or have committed suicide. And I know they say unaliving themselves today, of course. But just to give you an idea of how sad that is, how sad that truly is, and how we need to be continually, upping our game so that we can help those around us as well. Maybe it's a niece, maybe it's our own children, maybe it's the next door neighbor, whomever it may be. We want to be able to be in a place to give good love and good attention, keep our ear to the ground should we see that some of our kids are not, and the whole online bullying thing. We've got to be really in touch with our kids about what's happening. Lots of times the kids don't want to talk to the elders. We really have to kind of gently stay within the parameter, right? And make sure, and if something really goes wrong, obviously take the drastic steps. They're saying that young professionals now are not emotionally ready for the workplace. That's scary because we've got a whole new onslaught of kids that are coming up that is, say here, 51% said they needed help for mental health problems in the last year. 43% have suffered anxiety, 31% depression, 53% reported feeling burnt out at least once a week. 38% view their work environment as a negative contributor to their well-being, and 39% say that the college did not help them prepare emotionally for the future. When we go back and continually talk about emotional intelligence, remember I talked about it before. When we go back and we talk about having the tools in the shed to be prepared, this is preparation. Personal development is preparation for life. It's preparation for work. It's preparation for relationships. It's, again, having those tools in the shed that I talked about when that storm comes through.
Love it. If anyone wants to reach out to you, the book, you individually, how can they go about finding you?
Well, I know that I'm on Amazon in the UK, so that's pretty simple to do. And then to find me, you can find me pretty much on any social except Snapchat.
Okay. Well, we'll leave those links in the description anyway, so people can reach out to you. Again, any final comments?
Just do the right thing by yourself. Do the right thing by picking up these kinds of books. I'm not here to hawk my books. Certainly I think it's a great book, but spend more time in the personal development section. This is called, this is self-help. It's not shelf help. All right. Yeah. So if you buy the book and put it on the shelf, or you leave it on the bedside and not actually pick it up, read it a chapter at a time. Ponder it. Write your thoughts down. Get yourself support groups. They're everywhere now. Meetup.com. You can go anywhere and find, what are you really interested in? What floats your boat? What are you passionate about? And find people that are like-minded, that are good-hearted people, that do live in service to themselves and to others. And you're 90% of the way there.
Well, thank you very much again, because I've definitely learned something, so I know that all the listeners definitely have as well. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much too.